Welcome to the Angel Freedman Show on All Talk TV. I'm Angel Freedman. Reza Moridi is an award-winning scientist, engineer, educator, business leader, and community activist who represents the riding of Richmond Hill. Moridi was first elected to the Ontario Legislature in 2007 and was re-elected in 2011. He moved to Canada with his family in 1990 and has lived in Richmond Hill since 1991. Currently, Moridi is Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Energy and Vice Chair of the Cabinet Committee on Jobs and the Economy. Dr. Moridi has served as the Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Training, Colleges and Universities, and to the Minister of Research and Innovation. He also served on the Cabinet Committee on the Economy and Environment and Resources Policy and on the Standing Committees on General Government and on Justice Policy as Vice Chair. Good morning, Dr. Moridi. Thank you so much for coming. It is an honor to have you here on the Angel Freedman Show. So, since this show's all about educating people, let's start with the system of government in Canada. Could you explain that to us?
Well, thank you very much, Angel, for having me at your show. It's really a great pleasure to be on your show. With regard to your question, as you know, and I'm sure your viewers know, that we have a federal system of government in Canada, which many people believe that this is the most decentralized system of government in the world, in contrast to very centralized governments in the world, even in the democratic world, in the Western world, for example. When you look at France, France is a more centralized system of government. Almost everything is located in Paris in terms of government. So in contrast to France, our system is more decentralized. The power is spread all over the provinces and then the municipalities. So we have basically 4 levels of government in Canada. Starting from the top, we have federal government, and then we have provincial governments. Then within provinces, we have municipal governments, and then we have school board trustees. So school boards also a level of government. So when it comes to municipalities, in Ontario, we have 2-tier municipalities. One is the towns and cities, and the other are regions. For example, York Region for itself is a municipal government, or Peel Region, or Durham Region, or Waterloo Region. These are the regions within the province of Ontario. So basically we have 4 levels of government, and interestingly that these levels of government, one is not on top of the other one. They are more or less parallel to each other. Again, this is something which sometimes people from other countries, when they come to Canada and you explain our system of government, sometimes they ask this question: is the Premier of Ontario reports to the Prime Minister of Canada? And I tell them no. No, the Premier actually is responsible to the people of Ontario through Ontario legislature and so on and so forth. So these levels of government, they are not, one is not above the other one. They are all in parallel in one level, basically. One doesn't report to the other one. For instance, a mayor of a city, for example, a town in Ontario, doesn't report to government of Ontario. The mayor basically isn't responsible to his residents of his town or her town. So we have a very decentralized system of government in Canada, which is good. It makes things done easily, faster, and also people are in charge of their own affairs through democratic process.
Right. You know, it's funny because when you're in high school, I guess this is something that you may learn. But you're right, if people come from other countries, they may not know this kind of information. Because they do wonder, does the mayor report to you, like in Richmond Hill? No. He doesn't report. Does he report to anyone?
No. Well, he reports to his council, right? I mean, mayor is elected. The mayors are elected by direct popular vote.
Right.
And then we have councils, members of councils. Every ward has a councillor, as we know. So they form the city council. So city council is basically the parliament of the city, of a city.
Right.
And then the mayor is like a president, for example, elected directly by the public, right? By the residents of that town or that city. Right. So the mayor is basically reports to his own or her own council. That's how the system works. And the council makes decisions, right?
Right, of
So,
course.
yeah.
So how is an MPP elected? That's a good question.
Yes. Well, MPPs in Ontario, we call them MPPs, members of
MPPs, that's
provincial
right.
parliament. In other provinces, they have different names. For example, in Quebec, I believe they call them MNA, which stands for Member of National Assembly. And in Manitoba, and I believe in Saskatchewan and other provinces, they call it MLA, Member of Legislative Assembly.
Right.
But in Ontario, we are called members of provincial parliament. So our provincial parliament, which its official name, I believe now, is Ontario Legislative Assembly. But at one point it's called Ontario Parliament, and still it's called Ontario Parliament. It's interesting to know that before 1975, I believe, the Ontario Premier's title was the Prime Minister of Ontario. And then that title was changed from Prime Minister of Ontario to Premier of Ontario. But back to your question again, yes, MPP stands for Member of Provincial Parliament in Ontario, meaning that the Legislative Assembly of Ontario or the Parliament of Ontario has members. I'm one of the members, current members, and so that's what we are called, MPP, Member of Provincial Parliament. And in contrast to MPP, we have MP, which is Member of Parliament, basically means member of our federal parliament, which is called House of Commons.
Right.
And its location is, its seat is Ottawa, right? The capital of Canada.
You know, probably why some people don't understand this, because it sounds a little confusing until you sort of, get to understand it. Because even with municipal government, they're like, well, who can they help with the taxes? What do? They don't understand it. This is very educational to everyone. So the responsibility of York Region, that would be my second question to you.
Yes.
What would that be?
Well, York Region, as I said earlier, Angel, there are a few, I believe 6 regions in Ontario: York Region, Peel Region, Waterloo Region, Durham Region,
right.
and the Niagara Region. So each region consists of a number of municipalities. York Region, in York Region, we have 9 municipalities. One of them is the town of Richmond Hill, the other one is City of Markham, City of Vaughan, town of Aurora, town of East Gwillimbury, town of Georgina, town of King, town of Newmarket, and town of Whitchurch Stouffville. Right. So there are 9 municipalities which form York Region. Each municipality is like Richmond Hill, for example. Okay. They have their own government, which is the Council of Richmond Hill, Mayor of Richmond Hill. They form the government of the town of Richmond Hill. But in the meantime, we have the municipality of York Region, which oversees the affairs of the whole region of York. Right. And the region of York is about, I think, 1.1 million people are living in York Region.
How many? Sorry.
1.1 million.
Wow. Okay.
1.1 million. So about
so we're
1
like
million.
half of Toronto. Are we about that?
Almost. Yes,
okay,
almost
right.
half of Toronto. Yes,
right.
it's a good analogy.
Right,
half of Toronto, and bigger than the size of the province of Manitoba, and bigger than the size of province of Saskatchewan, right. And all maritime provinces.
So geographically, it's a very large area.
Geographically, we are large, and the population-wise, we are quite big. I mean, apart from City of Toronto, York Region is heavily populated. As I said, the population is more than Saskatchewan and Manitoba and any of maritime provinces, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and others. So it is a large municipality, and there are 9 cities within this, or towns, within this municipality. When it comes to running the affairs of municipality of York Region and the towns and the cities within this municipality, I think there is a separation of jurisdictions. There are certain services which is provided directly by towns and cities, and there are other services which is strictly provided by the region, or York Region in this case. For example, Family and the children's services. This is one of the services which is provided by the region.
Okay.
And there are other services which are provided by the region. I'm just going to
Well,
read the list or just examples of those services actually. Social housing, for instance, is within the jurisdiction of the region. Emergency management, emergency medical services, public health. For example, a public health or medical officer of health he or she reports to the chair of York Region.
Okay, so this is like the overhang, like the umbrella of the whole region. So this is not, the local councillor in Markham.
That's
this
right.
Is okay.
This is the
Good,
umbrella government for York Region.
Right,
So,
okay.
for example, medical officer health
Right.
is appointed by the region and reports to the region and is in charge of public health in the region.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So transit, for example, Viva Transit or York Region Transit, that's
Right.
we
Yeah,
every day
Region,
see the buses. So
that's right.
that's also within the jurisdiction of the York Region.
Okay.
Water, sewer system. This is a big engineering project,
Absolutely.
right? And the waters and also roads. Now, when it comes to roads, major roads are under jurisdiction of York Region. For example, Young Street, Bayview, Bathurst. These streets are passing through Richmond Hill or any other town.
Right.
These are regional roads. So when it comes to winter time for cleaning for snow, that is done by region, not by Richmond Hill.
Right. So if somebody was living, sorry to interrupt you, if somebody was living in Richmond Hill and they had an issue, let's say with a regional road, they'd be calling the region. Not your local councillor.
Right. Major arteries like Bayview, Bathurst,
Right.
and the Youngest Street and Leslie Street, these are regional roads. So York Region is in charge of maintaining these roads, and whatever happens, that is their jurisdiction, not the city of town of Richmond Hill or town of Aurora or town of Newmarket.
Right.
Right. So these are regional roads. So region is in charge of certain roads, major roads actually. And then we have regional planning. City planning for the whole region is also a responsibility of region.
Of the region.
Yes, of the region.
And then we have, for our viewers, so the people that are on the, as we say, the umbrella of York Region, so there's regional councillors.
That's right, regional councillors.
Okay.
That's another level, which I'm just going to get into.
Okay, good. Okay.
But before
Good. We
getting
need
into
that
that, then there's police.
Right.
Police is also under the jurisdiction of the region. So we have York Region Police.
Right.
So York Region Police is in charge of the whole, policing for the whole region.
Okay.
Includes every town within region. So these are the services which are basically offered by the region, by York Region, and not by the individual towns. So York Region actually is a huge municipality with big responsibility.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine responsibility for police, for major roads, for water, for sewer, for social housing, for emergency preparedness, for public health, medical officer of health, among various other things. So these are major responsibilities, and for that reason, Angel, the budget of York Region is bigger than the budget of every town and the city within the region. They have a budget of $2.8 billion. York Region, Municipality of York Region, in terms of its budget and operation, is bigger than many ministries of the government.
Absolutely.
Yes.
This is very educating, not for just myself, but I'm sure for our viewers. We're just going to take a small break and watch a video of MPP Reza Moridi at the Ontario Legislative Assembly speaking about the Private Members Bill, Bill 60. We'll be right back.
From Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the leave be given to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Municipal Act 2001 to provide that the head of council of the Regional Municipality of York must be elected. And that is now be read for the first time. Thank you.
animated by one supreme being, which is the God.
We don't do this in a sense of feminism, rather this is...
The interesting thing is that the political will seems to have come.
You can find it only in Jews and Palestinians.
Done a very good job at keeping it under control.
That liberating people who are thought to be unjust because of social, economic, or political conditions.
That time I thought it was so scary.
Officials
Everything you do.
When you know it, so you...
Proxies of the Region 27 eat together.
As if you can't wrong things and you slow.
Hello and welcome to Mensch Life. I'm David Grossman.
Welcome everybody to the Anna Adi Show.
Welcome to Passion Point. My name is Irene Becker.
Hi, I'm Sari Colt and welcome to Chew on This.
Hi, I'm Gila Marto and welcome to Gila and Guests. Welcome to Ladies with Wisdom.
Welcome to Sketch It Up.
I'm Susan Radoshevek, and this is Corner Office. I'm Doris Epstein, and remember to be a mensch.
Sometimes I hate being Batman.
You just admitted being Batman. You just admitted it.
No, guys. I said I hated being a fat man.
No, that
I
was
hate being a fat man.
It was a hard beat. It was a hard beat.
That was all Bat.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Alfred, it happened again.
Dr. Freedman
Welcome back to the Angel Freedman Show and my honored guest, MPP Reza Moridi. So, Dr. Moridi, let's talk about who are the regional councillors and how are they made up in York Region?
Well, as you know, Angel, there's city council, right? Every town, every city has its own council. Within York Region, we have 9 municipalities, 9 cities and towns. Each of those cities and towns, they have their own council and their own mayor. Then the Council of York Region consists of 20 members. And these 20 members, they are basically indirectly elected to that council. Every mayor of those 9 municipalities, they're a member of York Region Council.
Automatically?
Automatically.
Okay.
Automatically, every mayor. So there are 9 mayors of 9 municipalities. They sit at the regional council. And then when we elect our municipal councillors, we also elect regional councillors. Regional councillors.
Okay.
So for example, in Richmond Hill, we have 2 regional councillors.
Right.
In Markham, I believe there are 4 regional councillors, and in Vaughan, I believe they have also 4 regional councillors. So people elect councillors and the regional councillors. And the number of regional councillors depends on the size of the cities and towns. So in Richmond Hill, again, we send 2 regional councillors to the Council of York Region. Residents of Markham, they send 4 regional councillors to the Council of York Region. So these members sit at the Council of York Region, and in total there are 20 of them. 9 of them are mayors, and 11 of them are regional councillors elected by the members of that town or that city.
Okay, so not the whole 1.1 million. So those people are not electing those regional councillors.
No, every city.
Okay.
That's right. Every city and town, they elect their own regional councillors.
Okay, to represent them at the region.
At the region, that's right. And also their mayor also sits on the Council of York Region. So Council of York Region consists of 20 members, 20 elected. 20 elected members, 9 of them are mayors, and 11 of them are regional councillors elected by their residents, respective residents.
Right. Okay, that's good.
So that's the form of Regional Council of York Region.
Okay, this is good. You know, it's funny because, again, a lot of people don't understand this. And I mean, it's good because we need to educate people on the different levels of government,
That's
especially municipal, because they are the people that are really most affected. You know, they're part of who you need to phone the most, and then I guess you. So the Private Members Bill, Bill 60, one of the reasons you're here today, please explain it to us.
Yes. Well, before getting into Bill 60, if you would agree, I will just add one point about the Council of York Region. The Council, as I said, there are 20 elected officials sitting in the Council, and that forms the Parliament of York Region in one sense, right? The chair of the Council is a person who is appointed, or in the past, appointed by the members of the Council. So the chair of York Region, who is an appointed person, chair and the CEO, they call. The title of the person is CEO and the chair. And the current chair and the CEO is Mr. Bill Fish, who has been there for 15 years now.
15?
15 years.
Okay. And he was appointed by the people in that council, like you explained to us.
That's
the mayors and the...
And those 20 members, basically.
Okay, those 20
members. So what
members.
happens is after every municipal election, those 20 members, they sit down and then they say, okay, we are going to appoint a chair and the CEO. Okay. The first time they did, when Mr. Fish came into the office, he was one of those regional councillors.
Okay.
So those 20 people, they elected one of them, in that case it was Mr. Fish, as a member of, to become the chair.
Okay.
Then in the next round, Mr. Fish didn't run for regional councillors. So his colleagues basically appointed him to become chair and the CEO of the region. And they continued doing this, I think, for 5 terms. So that's what Mr. Fish has been there for 5 terms. I think about 15 years now. He has been the chair of York Region, and he got appointed by his colleagues. So that's the way it has been done in the past 15 years, which to me, it's not a democratic process. You know, I mean, this is not a personal matter. Mr. Fish has done a great job over the past 15 years for York Region. But in terms of democracy and the process, we are basically lacking democracy in York Region. So, and many people, by the way, they thought that the chair and the CEO of York Region is an elected official. Because when you look at the Angel, the position, the office itself seems to be a public office, right? It's like a mayor's office.
Absolutely.
It's like a premier's office. I mean, can you imagine a mayor of a city to be appointed by the members of the regional council? Would the people of Richmond Hill or Toronto will accept that their mayor be appointed by members of the council? Of course not.
Absolutely not.
Mayor has to be elected by popular vote, and that's has been the practice. But in York Region, the practice wasn't this. So, but many people, again, as I said, when I talked to people and they thought, oh, we thought that the chair was elected. How it comes? I said, well, no, that has been the practice for many, many years. So, so yeah, that has been the practice, but of course, the practice hasn't been democratic. The appointment was done just, you know, in a closed door setting without any advertisement for the position, nothing. They just appointed the person whom they know, and they kept doing this for 5 terms.
Okay, so just to interrupt you for a second. So let me get this straight. So all these other people are elected. The mayors are elected, and the regional councillors are elected. But I would call him almost he'd be like a mayor in a way, like a super kind of mayor, overlooking the population of all of York Region.
That's
and
right.
he just sort of gets the job because a few people decide that he should, but no asking anybody in the region whether or not he would be a good person for the job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what was happening, and it's quite unfair. I mean, people of York Region, about 1 million people, over 1 million population, they had no say in the appointment or election of the top person, the super mayor, as you used the word.
Yeah, like
super
the
mayor.
top big guy.
In charge of a municipality of 1 million people with a budget of $2.8 billion budget, and all those responsibilities I carried out, I just listed for you in our previous segment. And so it's also unfair on the person, you know. I mean, if you are sitting in that position, you would like to be an elected person rather than appointed and be, you know, responsible to a few people in your council. You want to be seen that you have the mandate from the public at large, rather than just you know, a few people whom you know or they know you, they appointed you. So I think it's not fair on the person as well as a chair, you know, be appointed in that fashion. So in any case, when I learned about this for you know, since I've been living in town of Richmond Hill for over 21 years now. But I didn't have a chance in the past to do anything personally. So I've spoken to many people, you know, in the past saying that this is not, you know, this is not right. This is a public office, and the people has to elect the holder of this office. In any case, in this Parliament, I thought, you know, I should bring a private member's bill to the House to change this process. So that's what I did.
I like that you said it's undemocratic, because we live in Canada, and we do elect all of the government, all levels of government. But in this level, we appoint. And no one has ever brought this up before?
Well, I haven't heard this before, but you know, Angel, if you're appointing a person in an office setting, like particularly in government office setting, right? You advertise for the job, saying that, you know, we are hiring a person,
a resume
for this person, for this position, and then people can apply, right? So, and then there will be a selection committee or appointments committee. They interview people, they review the resumes, and then they, of course, appoint a person to that position. But you know, our regional councillors in the past, even they haven't been doing this. They were just appointing a person whom they know in a closed door in a matter of, I don't know how many minutes would that take, you know, to do that.
Well, how many minutes?
So of course they know the person, and the person has been doing a good job. But the process itself was undemocratic. Even in the nature of the appointment was undemocratic, because there was no, you know, posting the job, advertising, and getting this open process or transparent process. So the process of appointment itself wasn't transparent. So that's what they have been doing, and it's really undemocratic. So when I put out this bill, many people they approached me, and they were quite happy that you know, I brought this bill forward. And many people, they told me that they didn't know this is the case. They thought that they were electing a chair of the region, and a few, actually 2 former Richmond Hill mayors, they are also supportive of this, and some of the members of the Council of Cities and Towns are supportive, and of course some of them are not supporting. Some of the councillors and the mayors are not supporting.
But you need to wonder why they're not supporting this, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you support something like this? Why should anyone be appointed, especially in levels of government? Because we live in Canada, in a democratic society, and I think that you bringing, well, I know that you bringing this up will educate a lot of people, and I think we need to keep talking about this. Absolutely.
I really surprised, you know, Angela, when I hear that mayors and some of the councillors, they didn't support my bill. I was rather surprised. I said, well, you know, these people, they have been elected by popular vote. Why aren't they supporting election of the chair? I mean, that's a public office, and the person who holds the public office has to be elected. I was rather astonished to hear that. And then I thought, well, maybe, you know, the element of friendship or being easiness of this, you know, you just sit down, 20 people, and you knew the person, and he has been doing a good job. So you say, okay, well, let's, you know, just appoint him and then get the job done. Which I understand, but in the meantime, how can you explain the lack of democracy in the region?
Right. And people always use that word. It's democracy. And so if we're going to be it's sort of like walking the talk. So if we're going to walk the talk, then, you know, then the chair needs to be elected.
Absolutely.
And we need to speak up to that.
Absolutely. The other point I want to say is that when we elect our regional councillors and when we elect our mayors in York region, do we give them the right to appoint a chair for us on behalf of us.
Does it say that on the ballot?
I don't think so.
No.
So there's a question there as well for them to answer.
This is very educational, and I hope that everybody contacts either, I think that people are okay to contact you and maybe ask questions.
Oh, absolutely.
This is very important. We'll be sending this out onto Facebook and to Twitter and as much social media as we can. I think this needs to be spoken about, absolutely.
Yeah, well, the bill, as you know, I introduced the bill, which is called the first reading in the parliamentary procedure, and then it passed the second reading, which we debated at the parliament, and all party members, by the way, all parties, they voted unanimously for this bill.
Good.
Conservative Party, NDP, and of course Liberals. So all members of the parliament who were at the at the session, they all voted for the bill. So the next step, Angel, is the bill has to go to the committee. And for doing this, I need the support of the residents of York Region. So hopefully the message will get out and the people will call my office, put the petitions, and show their support for this bill so that this bill gets into the committee, gets into the last debate in the parliament, which is called third reading.
Third reading, okay.
After that, it can become a law, or the law.
We need this to become a law.
So we need this to become a law, and then I need the support of the residents of York Region.
Oh, you heard it right here on.
Yes, through the petitions or calling, they should demonstrate their support to the bill.
Okay, well, you heard it right here on the Angel Freedman Show. MPP Reza Moridi, thank you so much for being on our show, and we will get this out. And please contact his office. RezaMoridi.com is your website. Thank you very much. I'm Angel Freedman.
Thank you for having me on your show, Angel.